What's up, everybody? K0LWC here from Denver, Colorado. I want to make my very first video here on my YouTube channel talking about one of my newest radios, the Anytone 868, which is right here behind me. If you're not familiar with the Anytone, it's actually a dual band DMR and analog, so digital and analog, HT radio from the Anytone brand, which is one of the many Chinese manufacturers. This radio was recommended to me by Jim, N7VDR, as well as Bud, W0RMT, both here in Colorado. And this has probably been one of the most popular radios for DMR in the last, I would say, year or so. And especially in the last 6 months, because in the last 6 months, a lot of bugs have been worked out of this radio thanks to firmware updates. And this really is becoming one of the most popular radios you hear, right up there with the MD380. I want to talk about my impressions and what I think about the radio. Number one, this radio can store a lot of contacts. And there's actually Bud right now. When I was looking for a radio, I was thinking about getting a Motorola radio, which of course is a commercial radio that can be used for amateur radio. One of the things that I really did not like is that they're made for business, commercial reasons. So they're not made to store tens of thousands of contacts, because for most businesses, that's just not needed. So this radio can store over 100,000 contacts in its database. So as of right now, that's pretty much every single DMR radio on the network. Last I looked, I want to say we were in the 80,000 range, somewhere in there, but rapidly growing. DMR is growing so quickly, but still, I have no concerns about how many contacts can go in here, because I know that I can still update for probably at least another year or two and never run out of space. So contacts, a ton of space, you gotta love that. Number two, the Anytone is a dual band radio. It seems like most manufacturers in China are starting to look towards dual band as kind of that next evolution of their DMR radios. The Anytone, again, can do UHF and VHF. Now, the majority of digital machines out there are in the 70 centimeter band. However, there are more and more 2-meter machines coming online. And the benefit that this is also an analog radio, meaning that if I want to use it on my favorite analog repeaters, many of which the most active ones are in 2 meters, I can do that no problem whatsoever. So again, dual band capability, another reason to love it. Number three, the Anytone 868 has a wide coverage. So this radio will do 140 to 174 in the VHF side and 400 to 480 on UHF. So you can use this as a work radio as well. So I said, if you have frequencies that you use for work that are in those bands, you can absolutely use this not only for work, but for play as well as amateur radio. So again, the fact that I can do wideband is great for many people that need a radio where you can just carry one for work and for play, not having to carry your ham radio and your work radio. All right, let's go to number four. The Anytone 868 is a fairly rugged radio, meaning that sometimes you buy radios and they don't feel really great in the hand. They feel really cheap, like they're gonna break if you drop them on the carpet even, right? This has a great feel in the hand. It feels like a solid radio. Am I saying this is a Motorola? Of course not. That would be even silly to try to compare that. But does it feel good in the hand? Does it feel solid? Absolutely. Have I dropped this radio? You better believe it. I've dropped this radio from about 4 to 6 feet. I've dropped it onto landscaping rock. I've dropped it onto hardwood floor. No problems whatsoever in the couple of drops that I've had the radio. Nothing's busted. There's no rattles. There's no shakes. Again, it's a fairly beefy radio. Also, you'll notice if you take a look here at the side view, I did order this radio with the extended battery, which is a 3100 milliamp hour battery. This gives me great battery life as well, which, guess what? Might be the next thing I talk about. Number five, surprise, battery life. So, as mentioned before, I do have the extended beefier the beefier battery, the 3100 milliamp hour battery on here that you can order the radio with. I take this to work every single day. I'll tend to chatter on the way and talk to the folks on 3171 in the mornings on the way in. I talk when I'm walking around work, in between meetings, and as well as coming home. And I do have my screen on all day. I don't have it go dark. even with that on digital, again, I have no problem getting through an entire day. In fact, I can go about 2 to 3 days of pretty moderate use of the actual radio, screen on all the time, and I have no problem getting through, again, 2 to 3 days with the battery. Fantastic battery life. I can't speak as much to analog. I do use analog once in a great while, not very much. But on digital, this thing will last you at least 2 to 3 days of moderate use in between charges. And it does help if you're at home and have a hotspot where you can keep it on low power all the time versus high or turbo. So again, this on low power and using it at work on turbo, 2 to 3 days, no problem. All right, let's talk about something I don't like for number 6. This is actually not the antenna that comes on the radio. And I said, do I have it back here? I don't think I have it handy. The antenna that comes on here is about the same height, but it's a very stiff antenna. The problem with that is when you put it on your belt or somewhere on your pants, it's gonna jab you in the ribs. So anyone that gets this radio, I recommend you just order up a nice external antenna. So what you see on here, let me just turn this off real quick. The antenna that was recommended to me by the NoCO DMR guys is the Nagoya NA701 dual band antenna. So again, I highly recommend that if you're going to get this radio, order a just very simple dual band antenna for it at the same time, because you will get the radio and you're going to be like, oh my God, why didn't I get another antenna? Because again, the one that comes with it, they're very just kind of okay antennas, as most stock antennas are in radios. And again, if you put it on your side, it's very, very, very stiff. So it will just jab you and it feels like you have like a piece, like a wooden stick on top of your radio, and you can't bend or move or get close to your radio. So if you do get one, just go ahead and get a flexible antenna. Again, I have the Nagoya NA701 dual band. It's a great antenna, performs better than stock, and it's flexible, so can't beat that. All right, number 7, this actual radio does come with its own programming cable. I actually have it sitting back here right now. So this does come with the radio. It's not an extra purchase. You will get a programming cable with it. It also does come with its own programming software, otherwise known as CPS. You can download that right from the manufacturer or from the site that you bought the radio from. So you will get the ability to program the radio, the cable, the software, everything you need, no extra cost. However, little disclaimer, we are talking about a Chinese manufacturer. So is it as good as something that came from Yaesu or ICOM or Motorola? No, it's not. It does have quirks. One of the things you'll learn is sometimes the things that are in the menu system on the radio are actually called something different in the software, even though they're talking about the same feature. That has always perplexed me. It's kind of frustrating at times, but as you learn the radio, you'll get to know what those things are, and it'll just kind of become second nature. But you will get a programming cable and the software, no extra charge. All right, moving on to number 8. This radio has a very clear speaker, a very loud speaker as well. So no problems cranking this up and hearing it in loud environments. The microphone as well, very sensitive, very clear, clean audio as well. I hold it about 3-4 inches away from my mouth. I talk across the microphone and I get beautiful audio reports every single time. So when it comes to the speaker on this thing and the microphone, fantastic quality. It sounds great on the air. You can't ask for more than that. Number 9, this radio is Part 90 certified. So again, this is Part 90. You can use it. It's checked by the FCC. Again, this is not some fly-by-night company that's going to have just a terrible transmitter in it. So no worries there. This is Part 90 certified. It also does come with a GPS built in. Features that have just released here in early April of 18 make the GPS way more functional, where you actually can do what they call ranging and see how far from one radio to another, how far the radios are apart, now what heading. That feature just came out. Again, the screen on this, the 1.77-inch TFT display, really is nice. It is a color display. I've had some problems with freezing, but not too much. Overall, I love the display. It shows me a beautiful, the name, the call sign, the city, the location, their DMR mark ID number, all of those things displayed beautifully right here on the screen. And number 10, this radio on, they call turbo mode, which means the highest power mode. They have low, medium, high, and turbo. Turbo is 6 watts out. of power on this radio. So I said it's actually a watt higher than many HTs. In fact, I've seen some videos where this is actually tested around 6.5 to 7 watts of output power. So again, this is going to have no problem getting into your favorite repeater system. It does have a really nice transmitter on it. Now, the one downside to the opposite of that is the receiver could be a little bit more sensitive. Is it completely deaf? No, not at all. Is it a really sensitive, great receiver? I wouldn't put it in that category either. There's room for some improvement on receiver sensitivity, but again, I'm comparing something like this to something more professional grade like a Motorola. It's an unfair comparison, but to be honest, again, there's some improvement that could be made here on the receiver. But again, hey, you're paying $180 to $160, somewhere in that range, dollars for this radio. Compare that to say $500, $600, $700, $800. Who's really complaining here? Okay, so what are my final thoughts here on the Anytone? With, come in stock with 4,000 channels, 10,000 talk groups, 150,000 contact capacity, what is not to love if you're an amateur radio operator looking for a dual band, analog and digital HT radio? Again, you're going to pay about $160 to $180 for this radio, and it is well worth the money. Again, this is probably the best DMR, dual band, dual mode HT on the market right now in April of 2018, and for good reason. Does it have a quirk? Sure it does, but all these radios do. This one, again, has been pretty easy to get up and going. You get the free cable, the free programming software. You're not paying for that programming software a la Motorola. And again, it sounds great on the air. It has great receive audio as well. So what more can you ask for? I highly recommend you check it out. If you're looking where to find me on DMR, I hang out in the Brandmeister network, particularly in 31083, Colorado Severe Weather, 3171, NoCO, or 31088 Colorado HD, which stands for Hotspot Discussion. If you have questions on the Anytone, everyone inside of 31088 on Brandmeister has this radio pretty much, and they're pretty much experts in it, as well as everything hotspots and DMR. Just look for N0WAR, W1VAN, N7VDR, W0RMT. Any of the guys on 31088 on Brandmeister can answer your questions on this radio, anything you have. So program that into your talk groups as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button. I'll be making more videos on all kinds of ham radio stuff. So until next time, I'll see you later. K0LWC.